Player numbers, shirt numbers in football are very important. They are a unique identifier for footballers in the modern game. Of course, you go back far enough, every team put out the same numbers every single week. The players on the pitch, they were 1 to 11, and the substitutes were 12, 13, 14, 15, etc. Now, I'm bringing this up, and I'm wearing my Sheffield United shirt today, or one of my many Sheffield United shirts, I should say, because really, I saw a debate online about player numbers being retired and whether player numbers should be retired. Now you're probably thinking, well, why are you wearing your Chef U shirt for that? Well, the reason why is because unfortunately my club has had 2 tragic incidents in the last couple of years when it comes to players passing away. We of course had Maddie Cusack for the Bladettes. She passed away a few years ago while she was still playing for the club. And on the men's side, we also had George Baldock, who was very much a beloved player for Sheffield United for many years, one of my favourite players as well, and he passed away not long after he left the club to go to Panathinaikos. Tragic incidents involving 2 very young people, and it's absolutely awful this has happened. And I saw a bit of debate online when it came to retiring player numbers. Now, in fairness, there weren't too many people saying this, but there were some people online who were saying, well, it's disrespectful that they should have to retire these numbers to honour the players. And Sheffield United haven't retired either the former player numbers of Maddie Cusack nor George Baldock. And I actually agree with the stance of the club on this one personally, and most Sheffield United fans did agree with that, and I think most other fans of other clubs also agreed with that too. Now, it's not unheard of to retire shirt numbers in football. I think there's a club in Italy that's retired the number 12 in honour of the fans because they're the 12th man, they're the 12th player on the pitch, or just off the pitch actually, of course. And and we've had some player numbers of course be retired over the years too, because of legendary players or players again who passed away quite young. I believe Manchester City, they retired a player number quite some time ago of a player who passed away very young as well. It's not that uncommon. So from that stance, I can see why some people, without a full understanding, with just kind of a top level kind of passing glance really, would think, oh, that's quite disrespectful. Why are they allowing players to still play with those numbers? But it's not quite that simple really, because there's other ways to honour the players. Of course, there were many tributes paid from the fans of the club and also the club themselves to both players, and from the wider footballing community as a whole on top of that as well. Even our great rival Sheffield Wednesday, they, of course, their fans honoured it as well, not unlike we saw recently where there was a young man who tragically was unfortunately murdered not too far away from Sheffield United's ground, and was of course a diehard Sheffield United fan too, someone who I probably knew in passing, to be fair. He actually used to catch the same supporters coach to away games as me, small world, and he also went to the same school I did too, so that was that hit me quite hard the other week. Rest in peace Harvey Wilgoose, of course. That's I've got to get that out of the way as well. It's a real cheer 'em up video, this one, isn't it? Talking about a lot of young people who passed away well before their time. Now back onto the topic of conversation when it comes to these player numbers. Now, George Baldock played with the number 2, which is pretty much synonymous with the starting right back of a club, and Maddie Cusack wore the number 8, which is pretty much synonymous with a central midfielder. So that's what a number 8 was, and still is, of course, to this day. Now, those are numbers within 1 to 11, which I know anybody would really realise, but the reason why I highlight that is because they're not unique numbers. It's not like, I don't know, for example, Thierry Henry having the number 14 or something like that. Anything outside of that 1 to 11 for me is a little bit abnormal in terms of what a player would have. Like a number 1 would be a goalkeeper, a number 9 would be a striker, a number 7 would be a winger. That's kind of what you associate. And we still say things like, oh, they need a number 9, they need a big man up top. No, they need a number 10, they need an attacking midfielder to really get the play going to the striker. We still use those numbers to this day in English football to associate with those positions because it's so synonymous. So at the end of the day, I understand totally why these player numbers weren't retired in this regard. I'm not against clubs doing that. I would be a bit surprised, to say the least, if Sheffield United or Sheffield United women did actually retire the number 2 or number 8 respectively, because they are synonymous with those positions. They're always going to be filled. You're always going to have a player that pretty much is going to be a number 2 or a number 8, and that's the same for anybody 1 to 11, and in truth anybody 1 to about 20 really when it comes to those player numbers. If it was the case that Cusack wore, I don't know, the number 38, or George Baldock wore the number 45 or something like that, then I think they probably would have retired them in honor of that, because those numbers are quite abnormal and you don't always see them filled. But of course, there's more than one ways to honor players who have passed away. Anybody who now wears the number 8 for the Sheffield United women or the number 2 for Sheffield United's men team will be honouring those players, in my opinion, as well. So I think that's also quite a nice way to honour it as well. Not too unsimilar to, for example, I don't know, Manchester United's number 7. That number 7's been worn by greats such as, of course, Eric Cantona and Cristiano Ronaldo over the years. So getting that shirt is an honour. And I feel like that is a good way of kind of perceiving all this as well. Getting the number 2 as a Sheffield United player now would be an honour, because George Baldock used to wear that. And if you're a female player and you get the number 8 for the Bladettes, then of course that's an honour for Cusack as well. Just my thoughts, of course. I know everybody's got different opinions on this, but it's something I saw online being talked about, so I thought I should probably get my thoughts about this, because there's no one size fits all solution. I'm sure, you know, both points are legitimate. I totally understand where both sides of this argument are coming from, but the important thing is that these players have been honoured, and you know, they will always be remembered. All the supporters that, of course, have seen them over the years will always remember them. I always remember Baldock for sure, and one of my favourite players during that time, not too long ago, of course. I can't say I've watched the Bladettes much. I keep up with the scores, of course, but you know, I'll always remember Cusack, because that whenever a name kind of comes up in the online or whatever, I will always remember her. But yeah, those are my kind of thoughts on it, guys. I want to hear what you have to say, of course, as well. Should player numbers be retired if player has passed away so young? You know, where does it kind of stop? Because the other argument to this as well is, of course, if you keep retiring player numbers, there's not going to be any left. I mean, I mean, in theory, that would happen over time. Football has been around for 100, 150 years in some clubs' cases, and it's not going anywhere. It's going to go on for a very long time. So eventually, you're going to run out of numbers, and everybody's going to be starting it. Like, they're going to have a goalkeeper who's number 100 or something. It's going to get a bit ridiculous after a while. So that's the other side to it too. But yeah, your thoughts in the comments below, guys. And for much more football news and opinion pieces, do keep it tuned here to thefootballchronicle.com. Have a good one, guys. See you soon.